Duh. You're watching the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm your host, Jean-Paul Leek. This is Ropebreak. Family Tuesday morning, you already know what it is. Monday Night RAW review. Hope you're all doing fantastic. And, it's the start of the week, so if you haven't already, go back and check out all the content from last week. So much stuff. We have War Games review. We have, of course, all the weekly shows. We have interviews, Ropebreak. We do it all. Check all that out. The interview is also in Spanish and in English. Please check that out. Very good interview. I wasn't there, but I watched it. Juan conducted it. He's the master. Check all that stuff out. So let's get right into Monday Night Raw. This show, to be honest, this show was not good. This was, the past couple of weeks on Raw, I've been like, okay, this is pretty decent. This is, maybe if you make it 2 hours and you trim the shit and you just give me the good stuff, it's a watchable show. No, this week I didn't really care for anything. I mean, the stuff with The Fiend and Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, all that stuff, that was good. But everything, like, they killed the Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles thing for me. It's not good, even though the match meant nothing to begin with, because the main, feud isn't that. It's, they said, oh, it's going to be Braun Strowman when he comes back, or it looks like it might be Sheamus. It's just, I feel like they don't know what they want to do with Drew. And, it's not good. The only feud that really matters to me on Monday Night Raw is Randy Orton and The Fiend. We are seeing a little something with Matt Riddle and Bobby Lashley, so that could be good. But, let's get into this review because, like I said, the show wasn't good, so let's just get through it. So it opens up, of course, we have a tribute to Pat Patterson. They do the 10, they ring the bell 10 times, a salute to him. So after that, Orton, he enters the ring, and then they showed the recap of everything that happened in the start of the show last week with Alexa Bliss and The Fiend. And then Orton opens his promo by saying that any ordinary man would tremble at the thought of facing The Fiend, but he's no ordinary man. He then adds that he doesn't need a mask to let the darkness out. He said, when my time comes, I'm going to stare the devil right in the eyes and let him know that the most evil son of a bitch has come for him. In the meantime, I'm going to be waiting at the funhouse door, wondering who exactly is going to let me in. So then we hear Bray Wyatt's music for the funhouse. Bray welcomes Orton. He's alone, and he says that Orton was mean to Alexa last week and that he'll have to settle for little old him. Orton says that he's done with games, but Wyatt is not. It's time to play. Let's get Randy. The question is, how should Randy be punished at TLC? The contestants, as such, a Rambling Rabbit, Huskus, they all come up with wrong answers. Wyatt interrupts, saying that The Fiend has the right answers. Then Orton says he has enough and he wants a match with Wyatt tonight because he said, I don't want to see The Fiend. That's a TLC, but tonight I want you. So Bray accepts, and then that's going to be the main event. So, good segment. I like that. That was a good main event because, like I said, that's the only feud on Monday Night Raw that feels like it actually means something. Drew was legit. They gave him the title back from Randy, and, he had that awesome match with Roman Reigns, and then, nothing, garbage. Braun Strowman was going to be his opponent at TLC. Now it's AJ Styles, and, okay, that's at least a legit match, but they're making it feel like bullshit. So, like I said, the only legit thing on this show is Randy and The Fiend. So we get a video recap for Asuka and Lana teaming up to beat Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for a second week in a row, and the two teams will face off in a women's tag team title match at TLC. So, like I said, I'd rather still see this be the Kabuki Warriors, but hey, I mean, if it's going to be Asuka 2 belts, that'll be pretty cool. And then back to the ring, Asuka will take on Shayna Baszler in a singles match, and then we cut to Nia Jax. She's giving Baszler a pep talk, and they discuss what they're going to do. And then Shayna's like, I'm going to make her back look like her front and her front look like her back. She's going to, twist her all up. And then Nia goes, oh, so she's going to have boobs on her back. And it's like, I mean, I laughed, but I hate that I laughed because it's Nia Jax. But anyway, so we get this match. And this match wasn't very long. They made Shayna Baszler look like a joke. She's been looking like a joke for the past couple weeks. And I said, well, if this ends with her and Asuka having a legit feud and, her taking the title off of Asuka and having a legit run, then I'm okay with it. But I don't really see that happening. I feel like all their stocks are in Nia Jax because she's related to The Rock. I don't really know. I mean, Nia was, of course, out there. Lana was out there. You know, distractions were being caused and everything. So it wasn't like a legit clean match, but just the way she looked from her debut on the main roster up until WrestleMania, you know, that's the Shayna Baszler I want to see. Instead, we're seeing this clearly watered down main roster version of her, which isn't very good. But to skip towards the end of this thing, face buster from Asuka. She goes for a hip attack in the corner. Shayna blocks a flying armbar. And then Shayna counters into a Kirifuda clutch. Asuka fights out of it. On the outside, Nia is beating down Lana. She fights back, hitting Jax with steel steps and then the announce table after reversing a powerbomb. Shayna is distracted by all this, which allows Asuka to roll her up for the 1-2-3. So like I said, you know, it should have been somewhere Shayna shouldn't even care about her, about Nia Jax. She just care about, you know, Asuka. So I don't know if this is, it seems like there's some dissension there, and that's probably what's going to be used to cause them to lose the belts at TLC. So we'll see where they go. Again, I'm not too invested in this feud. I'd rather much see just a one-on-one Asuka Shayna Baszler. So let me get a replay of Cedric Alexander pinning Xavier Woods last week, and tonight Shelton Benjamin will take on Kofi Kingston. So now backstage, we see the Hurt Business. They bully a staff member, some little jabroni. He's like, oh, you know, carrying a box. And they're like, get out of here. And he goes to walk the one way. They're like, no, get out of here the other way. Like, we're staying in here. And he's like, oh, sorry. And they all laugh. So then we see a recap of The Miz attempting to cash in last week with the help of AJ Styles. And then we go to the back where we see Ricochet and Dana Brooke. They're talking strategy for their mixed tag match tonight. Riddle appears with his bro nuts, you know, or it sounds how it sounds no matter how you say it. So he appears with his bro nuts, and he's looking for MVP to pitch his idea of something that already, you know, just he's going to pitch his ideas. That's his new little shtick for right now. But, you know, what we saw at the end of his last segment tonight, you know, I'm okay where this is going. So then Ricochet is interviewed about his feud with Retribution. He says that there's strength in numbers, that he and Dana Brooke will show what that's all about tonight. Brooke adds that she made her point last week by defeating Reckoning and saying that no one is going to take her dreams from her, and she adds that she'll have Ricochet's back. So to the ring, Slapjack and Reckoning of Retribution will take on Dana Brooke after the break. Then when we come back, Mustafa Ali, Slapjack, and Reckoning, they cut a promo on Ricochet and Dana Brooke, and Ali, he notes that Ricochet is delusional and Brooke is disrespectful, and the pair will meet their match. And guys, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. When after Ali cut his promo and they're making their entrances, I went to the bathroom to take a leak. By the time I came back, this is what I saw. Reckoning gets distracted by Ali. Brooke capitalizes with a sit-out slam for the win. Was Ricochet in the match? This match it had to have been 2 minutes. I don't know why you're burying Mia Yim. You don't think that's going to piss off Keith Lee? You know, you want to do something with Keith Lee. You know, I don't. What? Is this because her mask fell off? There was a rumor last week that because her mask fell off, you know, and then it's like, everybody saw her face and nobody sees anybody's face in Retribution. Vince was pissed, and it's like the masks are a fucking stupid idea to begin with. So who knows? But that was this match. You know, to me, Retribution is dead. They're not even on life support. The plug has been pulled. So then we get post-match. Ali's pissed. He screams at both team members and leaves the ring. There you go. That's what I would be doing, you know, with Vince McMahon and creative. I'd be like, you created a stable, you know, had some intrigue in the beginning. Now look at him. Jokes, just like you. So then back we see Sheamus. He's confronted by Keith Lee. Lee notes that it's just a matter of time before you stab your best friend in the back. Sheamus isn't having any of it, and he leaves. Then when we come back, it's Miz TV and Morrison. They introduce AJ Styles. The Miz begins by apologizing for the fact there isn't a chair big enough for Omos. And then Morrison then asks what Styles' plan is against Drew. It's the TLC match, because the match is going to be tables, ladders, and chairs. It's not just the match at the TLC pay-per-view, but it's the TLC gimmick. And then Styles notes that he is going to take a steel chair and wrap it around Drew's back until it breaks. He adds that he'll do the same with the ladders and the tables. Styles notes how physically imposing Drew is, but that won't matter after he's done with it. Morrison chimes in saying that Drew has to make it to TLC first, as the trio takes on Drew and Sheamus later tonight in a handicap match. Miz then pokes fun at Sheamus and Drew's accent as well as their culture. So Sheamus enters the ring. He laughs at the jokes, but he gets serious, saying that he's going to beat down all three guys. Miz notes that he's outnumbered. So then we see Drew's music, and the pair walks to the ring. And one thing Juan and I always say is, like, when Drew comes out with the sword and the kilt, that's badass. That should be like pay-per-view or like when he main evented the Monday Night Raw against Randy Orton for the title. Big special things, like when Andrade would wear the mask in NXT. He didn't wear it every time. He wore it for special shit. Now Drew comes out with the kilt and the sword and the claymore all the time. It's not special anymore. And that sucks. That's how it feels, because it was so legit the first time. Now we're seeing it every single time, and it's like, oh, okay. WWE always finds a way to find something that's special and make it feel not special. So Drew says that the odds are against him in, many times, but he always comes through in the end, and this time will be no different. Drew then throws a compliment to The Miz and Morrison, saying that they get back up every time he beats them down. Then he transitions to saying that The Miz has a reputation of being gutless. Then outside the ring, AJ says it's 4-on-2. Inside the ring, Drew and Sheamus take down The Miz and Morrison, offering a taste of what might happen later. Drew also tosses the Money in the Bank briefcase, breaking one of the panels on the LED screen. So then after that, we get a transition to Orton and Bray Wyatt's interaction from earlier in the night. And then back to the ring for Kofi's entrance. He'll take on Shelton Benjamin after the break. So that whole Miz, Drew segment, it's leading towards the match with TLC. But like I said, that's not even important, because you have Drew's focus isn't just on AJ and building that feud, because that feud's not important to WWE. You have the thing with The Miz mixed in there and Morrison. And then you have the also potential feud with Sheamus down the line. So, you have too many cooks in the kitchen, too many spoons in the pot, whatever analogy you want to use. You have too much stuff going on and nothing feels legit. That's why Randy Orton, boom, it's him and Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. They're the same person. You have Alexa Bliss there. She's his friend, his cohort, his partner, whatever you want to call it. That all makes sense. Drew going after like 3-4 different guys at the same time is, it's stupid, and you can't even pay attention, or you can't get invested, which is the main thing. We're not invested in this feud at all. So then we see Shelton and Kofi. This match was pretty good. I thought, okay, Cedric beat Xavier last week. Shelton's going to beat Kofi. So then it'll be like, oh, we couldn't beat you in the tag match. We beat you in the singles match, kind of continue the feud. Maybe they can goat, the Raw Tag Team Champs to give them a match at TLC, and that's where they'll win. But no, we couldn't see that, because Kofi gets back in the ring, and then, both guys almost got counted out at the end of this thing. And, when Shelton gets back in the ring at the count of like 8 or 9, Kofi hit the Trouble in Paradise, 1, 2, 3. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is really how this thing's going to end? I mean, it was a pretty good match. It was short. Both guys are talented. But like I said, I don't get excited for anything Kofi Kingston does. Winning the title, winning Elimination Chamber, all that stuff. It was like, okay, legit. Then he lost to Brock, and it's like, well, that kind of sucks. And, you build up the New Day, and the New Day should have that spot. But they're like, what, 8, 9, 10-time tag champs, whatever the hell it is now. They don't need those belts ever again in their career. Unless, it's like one of those things, a feel-good moment, give it to them because they're old guys. They're going to retire soon. But, what are they going to hold the belts 20 fucking times in their career? It's ridiculous. So then after this thing, post-match, Cedric is pissed, and then he wants a match with Kofi, and they accept. So then we get Kofi versus Cedric, and this was good as well. During the match beforehand with Shelton, Kofi kind of like hurt his leg a little bit, so he was selling the leg injury during this. And then both men are teetering at the top of the rope. Kofi pushes Cedric down, but misses his dive, hurting his knee even more. And then Cedric capitalizes by hitting the lumbar check for the win. So really good. Cedric beat Xavier Woods, and now he beat Kofi Kingston. 2 weeks in a row. Cedric is getting pushed really good. It's a shame for Sheldon, because to me, he's just as legit, but he's the veteran. Maybe they think, hey, let's give the win to the young guy. Let's build him up. And to me, if this leads to a match at TLC where they win the belts, him and Shelton, then I'm all for it. But then we get a video tribute again to Pat Patterson, My Way. That song is stuck in my head. And I said, I'm not even a fan of Frank Sinatra. So thanks, WWE, for putting that song in my head. So then we transition back to the ring. Drew and Sheamus, they're set to take on AJ Styles, Miz, and Morrison in the handicap match. Drew is out first, and then the rest enter after the break. They show tribute to the troops, everything that happened there. And then we get Drew and Sheamus in the handicap match versus AJ, Miz, and Morrison. This match was all right. All four of these guys are really good. The one is a really good talker and a decent wrestler. But, no. All kidding aside to The Miz, The Miz has been good in this role. It's just, like I said, there's too much. Drew's focusing on too much stuff. The Miz should kind of have another feud going on, but also still be hinting like, oh, yeah, Drew, I got the Money in the Bank. You're feuding him with the Money in the Bank guy. It's more of a surprise when the Money in the Bank guy cashes in out of nowhere versus like, oh, I'm feuding with the champ and, I don't know. I just don't like how WWE does it, but this match was pretty good because of what it set up at the end. I liked pretty much the whole time. It was just, Morrison they were just beating the shit out of Morrison. Sheamus looked good in this. Drew looked good in this. AJ, it was kind of when they had this match before. I don't remember who Drew's partners were, if I'm going to be honest with you, but when Randy Orton refused to tag in, he was like, no, I'm not tagging in, That was kind of like AJ. I don't think AJ was like putting his hands up and jumping off the apron like I don't want to tag in, but AJ just never was tagged in. He just, it was always Miz Morrison. But to skip ahead to this thing, huge belly to belly suplex by Drew, followed by a double suplex to Morrison and The Miz. Drew goes for a future shock DDT, but it's countered, and then Morrison off the ropes, and he is flipped, pretty much all across the ring. He does like a back body drop, but he like throws him from like one corner of the ring to the other. Then Sheamus and AJ tag in. Sheamus hits an Irish Curse backbreaker, but then he misses Morrison with a bro kick, and he hits Drew instead. Then AJ takes advantage and hits a phenomenal forearm for the victory. And then he remains unbeaten, this AJ Styles, since being drafted to Raw. So this is good for AJ going into pay-per-view, gets a win. But like I said, is he going to be WWE champ? No. They just gave the title back to Drew. What are you going to – this isn't, Monday Night Raw in 1998. They're not going to be bloop, 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 flip-flopping the title like crazy. So this was okay. And, with Sheamus kicking Drew – that led to something a little later on we'll talk about, but is that going to be a future feud? Or hopefully they drop the Braun Strowman thing because Braun Strowman wasn't going to beat him for the title anyway, so let's just skip that feud. Nobody wants to see it, and nobody cares. I think we're more invested in this with Sheamus, so we'll see what they do. But then post-match, Drew and Sheamus stare at each other down in frustration as we go to commercial break. Then when we come back live, we see a replay of Jax and Baszler's program with Lana and Asuka. And the next week, Lana will take on Nia Jax. Lana is afraid to face Jax, but Asuka pumps her up. Then Lana walks into Jax, who stares her down angrily. So then we see Sheamus. He's interviewed about what happened in the ring. He says it wasn't intentional. Drew walks over, and he says, you knew exactly what was going to happen, didn't you? And Drew and the two, they stare at each other. And then when we come back from another commercial, they're just beating the hell out of each other. And, backstage and everything, Pat Buck, he tries to stop him. He gets double power bombed through the table. They just had, like the table and catering. They had it set up and everything. So he gets put through that. So that was pretty cool seeing that, this fight, like I said, is this going to lead to the feud? Juan and I both said Sheamus is so legit. Since he came back, on SmackDown, the land of the Titans, I'm going to beat up all the midgets. And he was beating up, Chad Gable and all that guy. Never really did anything with a feud. Kind of had that thing with Jeff Hardy, or not kind of. He had that, long feud with Jeff Hardy, which was good, but he didn't go over. Then he had the feud with Riddle. He didn't go over. So it's like, what was the point? Now he has this. He's in, the main event scene, you could say, with Drew McIntyre on Monday Night Raw. So this is good. I would love to see a feud between these two. But I think that's going to happen maybe after TLC. Maybe they do that at the Royal Rumble or something. That would be really cool. So then we go to the ring where the U.S. champion Bobby Lashley is taking on Jeff Hardy. And then we get a quick recap of Lashley attacking Matt Riddle last week. Or he's getting ready to head to the ring, but he's cut off by Matt Riddle, who proposes that the two pair up, calling themselves the Hardy Bros. He's like, oh, you're the Hardy Boys. I'm the bro. The Hardy Boys, one of the best teams of all time. How about you and me? We be the Hardy Bros. We can call our finisher. What the hell did he call it? I can't even remember what he called it. Something like bro, something with bro in there. But it was like the Broton. No, not Broton. That's his move. I don't remember what he called it, but it was really good. And then Jess like, oh yeah, he's like, yeah, that's funny, that's badass. He's like, but I got a match, so he's like, I'll get back to you. So then he makes his way to the ring, and this was the best match in the entire night. If you want to ask me, I enjoyed this match. This would have been good if this was a United States Championship match. Obviously, Jeff didn't win this thing. You're not going to take the title off Lashley, but just kind of everything it's set up and the story that it told, especially at the end. This was really good. And Bobby Lashley, you know, I think they said he's about to, or it is, or something. He is on his 100-day reign of being a U.S. champ. So that's really good for him. He doesn't feel like that long because he really hasn't had that meaningful feuds. When have you seen a legit feud on the pay-per-view for the United States Championship? You haven't. But I think we're going to get that after what happened here. So this was really good. Lashley, dominated this thing. I do like on commentary, they said, oh, this is the first time they're facing in WWE. Probably in TNA or Impact somewhere I could have seen these two guys wrestling. But, so this was really good. Obviously, Lashley dominated. Hardy would, he sells. I love how Hardy always looks like he's in so much pain. Just from his whole career, he hits a move, he stands up, he makes that grimacing face, but he sells for you, and you always get hyped up. You always want to see Jeff win. I don't think there's a wrestling fan out there that hates Jeff. You might not love Jeff, but there's no way that you can hate him. This guy's too good. He is the charismatic enigma. But he tries to make comebacks here and there, but Lashley really dominated. And then Matt Riddle, he came out during this thing. He gets right in Lashley's face, and then Lashley, beats down Hardy. So they're kind of hinting at this. MVP's there as well. But at the end of this thing, Hardy with a kick to the chest and then a whisper in the wind. He goes to pin Lashley, but he kicks out at 2. Lashley gets back in control after dropping Hardy face first on the top rope, and he continues the momentum with a flatliner. Lashley goes for a suplex, but Hardy reverses it into a twist of fate. Then he goes up top, but Lashley is already on his feet. He avoids Hardy and lands a spear, followed by the Hurt Lock for the win. And that was actually, I think it was the third time he attempted the Hurt Lock, but Jeff was able to get out of it, which again is good. That just shows that Jeff is legit. It's like, oh, I can get out of your finisher. I can counter it. I can break out, but he wasn't able to break out of this one. Good stuff here. The right guy won. Post-match, we see Bobby Lashley. He refuses to let go of the hold, tossing Jeff into Matt Riddle. And then, you see that stare down. Riddle's yelling at them. MVP has the bro nuts. He's eating them. He's like, oh, these donuts suck. Throws them on the ground. Keep walking. To me, that's the feud. Bobby Lashley, I'd be fine if he held the title for another 100 days just because of how legit he is. But I feel like if you give this title to Matt Riddle, maybe we can see Bobby Lashley going after Drew again. And are they going to take the title off of Drew? I don't think so, which is unfortunate for Lashley because I think he deserves to be WWE champ. Even at some point, even if his title reign was only a month or two, he deserves it. I think, look at the guy. To me, that's a WWE champion, and he's a good wrestler for his size. He's not, Bret Hart. He's not nobody like Daniel Bryan, but the dude for his size and his build, he's a hell of a wrestler. But, to me, that's the feud, Matt Riddle and Bobby Lashley. Give the title to Matt Riddle. So then we see backstage, now we come back live. Orton makes his entrance, and Wyatt follows. So here we are, guys. Main event: Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. And this was all right. It was Bray Wyatt. It wasn't The Fiend, so it wasn't it wasn't the money match and everything. We're waiting at TLC, but the whole story was are we going to see The Fiend? Or, is he going to come out? Is Alexa Bliss going to show up? What's going on? But this match was pretty good. So if you wanted to watch Monday Night Raw, just watch from Jeff Hardy and Bobby Lashley till the end of the show, and you've seen all you need to see, and all that was worthwhile on this show. Besides, Cedric beating Kofi was pretty cool too. So then Wyatt goes for a Sister Abigail. Orton counters into a neck breaker for a near fall. He follows it up with a headbutt to Wyatt and then a back body drop to the outside onto the announce desk. Back in the ring, Wyatt is up and he attempts his Sister Abigail. Orton reverses with a thumb to the eye, and then he readies for an RKO, but the lights go out. Unfazed, Randy Orton stands there. Boom, he hits the RKO on him anyway, and then when the lights come back up, the Fiend is seen in the ring instead of Wyatt. He locks in the mandible claw as the show goes off the air. So that was Monday Night Raw. Like I said, it was not a good show. You guys listen to it from top to bottom. They saved the best for last. It started off good with the Randy Orton, promo and the Funhouse and stuff. Okay, lean to that. Then everything after that was shit until you get to Jeff Hardy because they really don't know where to go. Like I said, I'm not a fan of anything going on with Drew McIntyre in this main event because this AJ Styles feud isn't legit. I love AJ Styles. He's probably my favorite wrestler on the main roster, but they're not doing anything with him in the sense where this feud has no meaning. People be like, oh, he's having a match against Drew at the pay-per-view for the belt. What more do you want? Can you make it feel like it actually means something? when we all know, you can see the writing on the wall. Okay, Drew's not going to lose to AJ. They're not going to do nothing like that. So, I could easily see the Miz cashing in at this match, and then you have, Drew pinning the Miz. So then AJ still looks good. AJ doesn't eat the pin, and the Miz storyline is done because he's not going to win. He's not going to be WWE champ, and Drew retains the belt. So if that's what they do, I'd be fine with it. Just so the Miz, that whole bullshit thing can be over, and and Drew's still champ. But I wish AJ had something more meaningful, really build this feud up. I think that would be good. I really don't know what the plans are for Drew. If they're building towards Drew and the Fiend at WrestleMania, I really don't know. But that was Monday Night Raw, guys. And, hopefully next week it brings a better show. I'm definitely looking forward to, AEW, checking out Impact tonight. And obviously NXT, NXT UK, those shows will hopefully be the palate cleanser. Maybe not AEW fully, but they have been good the past couple of weeks, so I won't shit on them. NXT, now I almost want to say NXT is the one that leaves the bad taste, but no, Wednesday night, no matter how bad those shows are, they're not going to be as bad as this Monday Night Raw, because this was not a good show. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Follow us on all the social media if you haven't already. Ropebreak on Facebook, the OG Ropebreak on Twitter, the original Ropebreak on Instagram, the original Ropebreak right here on YouTube for the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community. Guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. And there's only one more thing left to say.